I'm rolling for Cal Black Philly. Feel like I'm losing control of myself.
Hey, what's going on, Trading Addicts? That's right. I'm back. Welcome to the weekly watch list. This is your host, Jeff Kohler, aka Option Addict, from over at www.tradingaddicts.com. I've been out of the loop with the video for a little while. Had some issues. Had to repurchase my program. Got it back installed, and I think I should be good to go. So we're at a pretty interesting point here in the S&Ps. If you're a bear, I'm sure you would love to be shorting here. It's a pretty decent spot, upper end of this reference range. But the market has really had no indication that it wants to go lower. None at all. Had plenty of attempts up here. So, and I've been a little bit more bullish throughout this most recent run-up. I'm sure you've seen that by the way I've provided content. I'm just a little bit more bullish this time around. The market structure this time around is a whole lot better than it has been the last time we visited these same prices within this range. Different groups, stocks, they all looked a little bit more constructive. They're all in a bottoming process as opposed to a topping out process. So I'm looking at the S&Ps here, guys. I think you got to play for a breakout this week. We're not in an overbought state, regardless of what you might think. The McClellan is reading right now positive 24, which tells us that there's no lid as to where we stand right here. We could go higher. And with the market situation right now, I'd be playing for a break. The copper market looks pretty good. In fact, I'll give you a quick peek at that. You know, we're still on a buy signal here, and we're testing that 350 high, which could be looked at as a shoulder of a bigger reversal pattern. But the fact that we've gotten back up here and we've been probing slightly higher, there's been a little bit of a bullish divergence here while the market has stayed, you know, relatively flat. Copper prices have been slowly inching back up towards their highs. Copper looks good. Treasuries have been on this sell signal, have continued to go lower, which is good. And the only thing I'd really be worried about here is crude oil. It's maintained a buy signal right now in after hours trade. It's flirting with the sell signal. But if crude gets up and popping tomorrow, then I think we've got a pretty decent structure to play for upside this upcoming week. So that's kind of what I'm thinking in regards to different groups you want to look out for. Semiconductors have to stay up inside of this range. So ideally we've been talking about this reversal pattern that's been taking place outside of this range. We've popped back up. Semiconductors are back up officially inside of this range, above 330, which is good. We want to see semiconductors stay there. We also want to see transports curl back up and test the upper end of that range. Transports need to be a little bit stronger here. And as a flagship stock this week in transports, I'm watching Union Pacific. I think the rails and a couple of truckers look pretty good inside of this little flag pattern UMP. In order for it to, if it breaks away here and rails trade a little bit better this beginning of this week, I'll be a whole lot more bullish on this market if we've got participation in the transports. Also, we've got to see the XHB turn back around and test the upper end of this range. And a lot of you might look at this chart and think it's a little bit more bearish. Prices are rolling over from the upper end of this range. But I'd have you look at some of the market leaders in the builders, like Toll Brothers, came back to retest this old range, which it's already broken out of. Meritage kind of doing the same thing, reversed back up towards the upper end of its range on Friday. And then DHI, which is also kind of in a similar predicament, not outside of this range that it's been in for multiple months, but a nice little bounce off the 50-day moving average and a higher low in comparison with this last one. So the builders look a little bit better. The IYR, which, there's been a kind of a bullish divergence here between the builders and the REITs. I'd likely see a play to new highs in the REITs here today. They all look pretty good after looking over them this weekend. Last but not least, financials, and particularly the banks. Got to get outside of this little wedge, and Goldman will be your stock there that I think you want to watch. Keep an eye on Goldman. You can watch Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and whatnot, but I like Goldman in a similar pattern here. If the banks get up and open higher in the morning, then I think you see them get back up to test this 200-day moving average and maybe even get a little bit higher, maybe get towards the upper end of this range, which will be uber good for the market. So outside of that, guys, the market structure, like I said, looks pretty good around. I'd be playing for a break. I think that that's the path of least resistance from here. And into that strength, that's where I want to be booking some gains and taking some trades off. And here's some of the things I think you want to watch this week. I got a lot, so I'll rip through them pretty quickly. We'll start with a couple big names like Caterpillar. You can see the bigger, longer dated triangle set up here in Caterpillar. I think you ought to play for new highs in this one. As a disclaimer, I'm long some calls here, but love the volume and love the little breakout that we saw. UNP was another one as we talked about transports. The fact that it's been up here and basing around these highs, sitting in a nice little tight flag pattern, I'd be looking for a break away from this come tomorrow morning, especially with the big volume that we saw on Friday. I'd also be looking at, let's get reversal. This little Iron Mountain, which we had talked about on Friday. Looking for a reversal off this little triple bottom. Big volume coming into the stock, into the upside. So I think it's a manageable trade just to use these reference lows as your stop. Playing for a move at least back up to 21-ish, if not a little bit higher. So that one looked pretty interesting to me. Boeing's been coiling up for quite a while now. Again, like the volume, a lot of big volume coming in on Monday, but I think this has got to give. And I like the way some of the defense names are starting to bottom. I think that looks like a pretty smooth play from here, especially given the oversold nature short term. Couple others. INTU. One of our TAs found this on Friday. I think it looks pretty sweet. Nice little triangle, little pennant up here near the highs. Look for a break away from this next week. If you want to get a little more bearish, Tyson, which has got a nice little descending triangle set up here. If it takes out this lower level of support, I'll look for some continuation to the downside. If you're looking at financials, particularly the regional banks, keep an eye on MTB. Like where it's sitting right here. I think it breaks away from this consolidation pattern here to the upside. Google was a name that looked pretty interesting to me on Friday, and the fact that it's starting to curl back up towards its highs. I know this is down near recent lows, but I'd be looking for a break back up towards 500. It should be a pretty easy play. Big volume in this name coming in on Friday. I think it looks good. Here's a name with a pretty high short interest that saw a lot of volume on Friday too. Another flag pattern I'd be looking for a breakout from, and it's this little MMR. Look for a break away from that. Couple others. Let's keep it going. VPHM. I like that you got reference highs up here at 14.5. You've got this little triangle pattern that you can use as your reference points. You've got the breakout here. You've got the volume. Play for the highs up at about 14.5. If we see a breakout, that means we should see Win up there. Again, another stock that saw a tremendous amount of volume. Look to play this for a break above 95. It's been holding here long enough. It ought to join LVS as another relative strength name in the casino space. WLL is a name I like over in oil services. Look for a break away from this consolidation pattern. Again, big volume. Look for new highs up to about 100 or so. IMAX is a name I like a lot. This ought to take place. See a pretty big breakout above that 200-day moving average come tomorrow, maybe Tuesday. That's a name that could get pretty volatile to the upside. A few others. GR, same thing. I'm just looking at stocks that have been coiling up over the last couple of days. They're getting ready to pop. GR looks to be another one. Pretty active volume on Friday. ATPG, I've already got a position here, but looking for a breakout in this name as well. Two more. Deckers. I like the way this name's coiled up for a little while. Looking for a break away from this. And then finally, I've got this little KG, which saw a pretty good amount of volume. I tried to day trade this thing on Friday, and it just didn't move much into the close. But if this thing opens up and is trading pretty active on Monday morning, I'll be taking a position in this name as well. Aside from that, guys, I got a couple buy the dip candidates and a couple sell the rip candidates, so take a look at those. Oh yes, and before I forget, my $10 darlings. Have a look. Alright guys, well that's it for me. Color me a bull, just at least in the short term here. I think that we've been sitting up here in the S&Ps, marking off some time, working off some of that overbought status via the McClellan. And I think if we can strengthen, coming out the gate tomorrow morning, then play the breakout. Take some positions early, take them off into strength. From there, I could get a little bit more bearish short term and look for a bigger pullback. But as for right now, I'm playing a little bit more to the upside here, so we'll see how that works out. And in the meantime, before I forget, we've launched some new services over at Trading Addicts. You guys know we have the all-day day trading webinar, which you've got to come check out. We've got some phenomenal indicators that we're working on that detect high-frequency trading, which could be of interest to you if you are day trading futures. We've also started the TA longer-term covered call portfolio, which we've been rocking that so far. And into weakness, I'll be looking to establish a few more names in that portfolio going forward. So you guys remember, 5-day trial. If we can't make you money in 5 days, we'll give it on back. So come visit us. This has been the Option Addict. That's been my watch list. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.
I'm in motion. I'm in motion. I'm in motion. I'm in motion.